Good morning. Hi, Kat. I'm gonna add you now, darling.
Oops, look at this.
Oops. Oops.
Hey,
Hey!
how
Oh
are
my
you?
God. You look amazing for 10 o'clock in the morning.
Look, I was like, I will not disappoint my sister. I have to. Like 10 minutes ago, this was not a look. But the bangs happened by accident. I did something. I was like, oh, I like this. And
It
I
looks
hadn't even looked at it till now. I was like,
great.
ooh, I did well.
You look hot. I barely just rolled over. I'm like, Simone, it's almost 9 o'clock, right?
Look,
Listen, I've been having a rough couple of nights. My dreams
oh man.
has been insane.
Yeah,
Insane.
yeah.
And,
It's rough.
yeah, this month is going to be different, I think. For some reason.
Well, with all the planets doing what they do on top of all the things, it is definitely going to feel like, what did we do to deserve this?
I got up this morning asking myself that. I was like, can I just get a night to just like not get all these bunch of messages? Up to the other night, I dreamt that one of my Facebook friends is running a brothel.
Ah, well,
And I'm
have you checked
like,
in?
so the message is that she better treat those girls well. I have no,
Amen.
I have no idea what that was.
I was hoping it was a male brothel, to be honest with you. So,
No, it's a female, and it was just insane. But anyhow, thank you for coming and joining us this morning.
yeah, this is a great series. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I wanted to approach you a long time ago, but everything for me is led by spirit. So
Yeah.
I had to wait and see. Okay, and I want to plan a month ahead, so give people time and not look like I'm all scattered and all over the place if I ask you to join me next week and we on Wednesday.
On behalf of all the people who stay scattered, I appreciate you. Because I am the people that you're speaking of. Okay, I got an idea. Hey, Simone, what you doing tomorrow? You want to get on live? That's me.
You see, I can jump on that bandwagon, right? I'm like, hell yeah, but I try not to because then I feel all over the place,
Right.
right? And one of the things I'm working on is I'm not generally a scattered person, but being more prepared and organized and structured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Just for Simone personally, and hopefully that spills into my spiritual life as well. But based on these last few nights with these dreams, I'm not sure.
So what do you do? I mean, so do you have a practice as a medium?
Mhm.
Do you have a practice around, and I don't mean to interview you, but I
No,
just have
no,
this
no,
question.
no. Go ahead. This is.
Do you have a practice that lets you kind of shut down the store when you're in your dream state?
No. So maybe we can talk about that
Yeah, we can
offline.
talk about that.
Maybe
Yeah,
because what happens is there's a long period where there's no dreams,
right.
and or there are dreams and I don't remember them,
Hmm.
right? But there's a lot going on in my personal life right now, so that
Right.
may be a reason for that. Because a few weeks ago I got a message and the stuff manifested, right?
Hmm.
So that I'm in a state of anger, and because I was my somebody betrayed me, right?
Mm.
But I got the message. But it's okay to get the message. But then when the thing actually unfolds, is a
Yeah.
different. So I'm kind of working through that, and working through my anger and all that kind of
Right.
things. But that doesn't stop the spirit world from still saying, okay, be mindful of this, be mindful of that, because it seems there's more to come,
Right.
right?
The thing, the thing is that, and I know what we're supposed to talk about
Mm-hmm.
because I prepared. I have my notes so I can answer all the questions.
Me too.
But we just okay. So hi to everyone that's joined.
Yeah,
Good to
good
see you
morning.
all.
We are talking like we got a bunch of people.
Forgetting about the people. But I do think it's important to acknowledge that anger is an absolute valid emotion. I think that in the spiritual space, especially the way some of us are trying to use spirituality to move away from the bullshit and to be better and to be all of this. Sometimes we forget that we are human and that anger is an absolute valid response to some bullshit. It just is.
Yes.
And I think that we need to be more embracing of that particular emotion, because I think particularly as Black women, we're always being tried, but people are always trying to talk us out of our anger.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
Sometimes I'm just in a bad state. Like I had my therapy session on Friday, and my therapist was asking me questions, and I gave it the what for. I was like, I don't have any compassion for that situation.
Right.
And I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, what about? I was like, I don't care. This is where I am with it. And she was like, okay. So we need to acknowledge that anger is a real emotion. We need to acknowledge that it's a helpful emotion. We need to acknowledge that we're human.
Yes.
So sometimes shit is raggedy, and all the sage and all the essential oils aren't going to change like your current state, because this is not like if somebody's betrayed me, someone's betrayed me, and I got to sit with that.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's funny you said, because I post about the emotion of I post about anger a few hours like late last night or early this morning, in between whatever, you know, and because when I read the piece, it was exactly where I am right now. Whereas I am just, I express the anger, which I also have to be mindful of, because next thing you know, I end up in jail. But, but
sometimes we black out.
Listen to me, right? And I swear it was some entity that just took over my being. But anyhow, I recognize where I am, and I'm walking through it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm walking through it. And yes, it's disturbing my rest, which we will talk about, you know, afterwards when you have some time, because I'm open to anything right now. But I do recognize that I have to work through it. So this morning I got up and I took a lime and salt bath, you know, because the other thing is and I don't know if this happens to you too, sometimes I see the rituals or hear the prayers or the thoughts of persons who are working against me, right? And who the person actually is. So sometimes there's a lot to kind of balance, being able to see the madness and be like, but Jesus, like, really? I don't got nothing to do with this. So there's a lot going on.
Right.
And I'm just walking through it and using the tools that I would advise others to use in my readings for myself, which is very important for us as spiritualists, right? We also need to take our own advice.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Right.
And then, you know, I don't, this is going to sound so, I'm a Sagittarius, y'all, so the dams that are supposed to be in your pocket, I don't really have them. Like, there's very small change in my pocket for certain people. But I don't see exactly who it is, but I can definitely feel when something's sort of pressing in my direction that's not for me.
Yes.
And, you know, so I press back. And sometimes that looks like, you know, 7 days of salt scrubs. Sometimes it's a candle that I burn. Sometimes it's a really quick, you know, back to sender. Like there's a thing that Nigerians do, like, back to sender.
Yeah.
And it's usually like this, it's treated as kind of this comical thing that we do, but there's real power in being like, nope, this ain't for me, take this back.
Yes.
So,
and the other thing is, I have 2 different altars. Well, I have my thing for Elegua at the door, and I have a light for him, and that light is starting to burn black, right? So the other light now that I have for my own personal, my ancestors, and my own little thing, which is my work that they've given me to put down, that light is clear as day. It's clear.
Wait, so is your personal and your ancestral altar, are they together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, for me, it kind of gets a little different because I'm not initiated into anything, right?
Right.
So I have my own things that I work with that I create for that, right? But before when I was with a Orisha house and I got my Elegua, my Ilikes and stuff like that. So I still work with the Elegua at times. Not at times. I still work with him. and I have him there because he exists, he belongs to me.
Right.
And, you know, I would have a light there for him, and that's starting to get some soot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anytime that, for me, that is an indication something is in the mix. And it
Right.
makes sense because of my sleeping habits and the things that I'm seeing. I actually, you know, and not to get away from where we're going, but at times I can actually sit in a room and see the work that's being done.
Mm.
Right? And I'm like, okay, all right, so this is what I have to be mindful of. And
Mm-hmm.
although I'm grateful for the heads up, it's tiring sometimes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
tiring. Okay, before we go any further, because my friend Candy Fab, who is like, I don't know, my executive producer, is asking me to pin your information. So which one do you want me to pin? Do you want me to pin both of them, Cat's Corner CO or
You can do Cat's Corner CO and the Black Magic Woman.
Okay, all right. So the Black Magic Woman is BLKNSPACE.
Well, you know, it's BLACKMAGICK.
Oh,
Woman.
MAG.
I'm extra. What can I say?
Yeah, no, I was looking at the other space you created.
Oh, the little so-so?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my production company.
Oh.
So okay, so just so that everybody knows, I am living multiple past lives at the same time, and so I have varied interests that I refuse to not engage in. So while people would say you need to pick one, I was like, if Benjamin Franklin's ass could be out here inventing and writing and being a founding father and all this other bullshit, then my black behind can do all the things that I want to do. So raise the camp. Okay, all right. Sorry.
No,
is that better?
No, she's
that was for you. Okay.
That.
Okay.
But
okay.
I can't raise it. I need to get another stand. Wait a minute. It's BLABKLN MAGICK?
Yes, Black Woman, the Black Magic Woman.
Oh.
I'll put it in the I'll
Okay.
just put it in, yeah.
Yeah, please, thank you. So I don't get it wrong. I always get these things wrong.
Well, it's a lot of names to keep track of.
Yeah, she did say not me, Simone. But I can't. I have to get a new stand. She keeps telling me to raise it, but I have to get a new stand. My stand, and if I put books under it, it'll slide. So next week for sure. I hope you guys could tune in next week too. For sure, we've officially booked the voodoo priest out of Benin, and he's doing some amazing work.
Okay, for some reason I can't remember my other things. Just do Cat's Corner. I don't know what's going on.
All right. Okay.
And we're not gonna waste time because I don't know what's going on.
Listen, it's October. I keep saying this month is going to be crazy.
Well, we're in the shadow. Mercury goes full retrograde on the 30th.
Yeah.
On the 13th, sorry. On the
13th. Okay. Yeah, I think I saw that this morning. Man, thanks a lot for that little girl chat. I needed that. I needed it. And I'm grateful again, and thank you for joining us here on Sacred Conversations. We have a regular set of women who come on here at 10 o'clock every morning and just hang out with me for an hour and ask a bunch of questions based on the topic. So this morning we're going to talk about aroma healing. And coming down to the end, we're more going to talk about you and the stuff that you're doing. A lot of space for that. But I just wanted to get the subject out of the way and we get into it early.
Okay.
So what is aroma healing? What is that?
So, it's funny because I think what happens over time is people shift language to accommodate, to kind of stand out. Aromatherapy sounds very sort of Western, I think, even though it's New Agey. I think there's also this backlash against New Agey. And so we're using this word healing in a lot of places. I think it depends on the practitioner.
Okay.
So aromatherapy is usually used to talk about a practice where you use essential oils, basically use the sense of smell to engage in therapeutic, healing, whether it's your mind or your anxiety, your anxiety, whether it's a sleep situation or whether it's, an issue around courage. You might use these oils to kind of help with your heart if you're heartbroken. But when we talk about aroma healing, for me, it's not that different. Because for me, and I do want to say this, I'm not an aromatherapist. The way that I use essential oils as a root woman, meaning that I experiment, meaning that I learn from other women in particular in terms of how information gets transferred. Aroma healing is really about essential oil as part of the toolkit. So the way I might use an herbal blend to help with my cholesterol or a tea blend to help me study better, I might take an essential oil and add that to my diffuser, or I might rub it on my neck or near my pulse point so I can smell it to help me stay focused. For me, that word is more encompassing. It moves away a little bit from sort of this Western way of thinking things through where we're like, it's a straight line. I live in circles. Like, circles are important to me. I like to travel around and, see where I end up. I usually end up back where I needed to be in the first place. But aroma healing, for at least in terms of how I interpret it, is really about, it's encompassing the energetics, the spiritual, the physical, the mental, and the way that we think about how our sense of smell can help us move in a different way. And essential oils can also be taken in, topically, and depending on the grade, if it's a therapeutic grade, potentially ingested. So it's just, for me, another thing that I add to the toolkit of things that I use to kind of stay sane. And it has healing medicinal qualities and properties. So eucalyptus oil rubbed on your chest will help you breathe better.
Right. So what are some of the, I know you had mentioned this, I saw it in a posting. Let's talk about what you think are the 5 must-have oils we should have in our homes.
Okay, so as someone who deals in oils a lot, I got oils all over the place. It's just my way. But I think if you had to start with 5, I would start with rosemary. It has very cleansing properties, like when you use it in a diffuser situation. Energetically, spiritually, the folklore behind rosemary is that it's a protective herb, so it can act as a shield. It's also great for hair. So if you can make a hair oil with rosemary in it, and if you're experiencing like dandruff or breakage, particularly with black hair, our hair is dry and we need to be moisturized. Adding rosemary can encourage hair growth. So that's because for me, the oils are not just about what they smell like. Initially, I think aromatherapy is often dealing in the way things smell to kind of trigger whatever. But we don't, for me, it's not just about that. So while I love the smell of rosemary, I might be feeling particularly sluggish and feel like the air in my house needs to be sort of cleansed. So I might use rosemary for that purpose.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of orange as like in terms of your toolkit. Only because orange looks like a big old sun. It evokes joy. Who doesn't? Well, some people might not like the smell of fresh cut oranges, but oranges are fantastic. They're actually great for cutting grease. So if you add a little to your dishwater, it can help cut grease. So it has that sort of utilitarian function. But it's a really uplifting and energizing scent. And so I like it, particularly in the morning, if things are moving a little slow, or if, I'm just feeling really heavy. Maybe I've watched the news a little bit too much, or I've, taken in, some information from a friend that, was having an issue. So I might pour a little orange oil in the diffuser, or, I'm a big fan of so this is bergamot, which is one of my other favorites. One of the things that, quick way to do it is you just take a drop. It's essential oil, so it's really concentrated. And I rub it in my hands like this, and then and inhale it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Woo!
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And then, I might rub it on my neck, rub it on in my hair, and then that scent can travel with me for the rest of the day.
Right.
That's kind of how I use orange sometimes. Sometimes it's really just, okay, let me put it in and inhale it. Mm-hmm. Now, do be careful of citrus oils like lemon and grapefruit and orange. They can have a photosensitivity issue. So you don't want to necessarily go sit out in the sun or use those types of oils in your, like, if, like, you know, sometimes I'll make a coconut oil sun tanning sort of thing. If I'm going to Jamaica and I want to get like super, super rich melanin, like boosting, I might do a coconut oil and I'll add, you know, some herbs in there and some other things just to kind of protect my skin. But
Right.
anything that's a citrus, you have to be careful. Like if, you know, if you put lemon juice in your hair and you go out in the sun, it actually lightens it. So it could create some photosensitivity issues, a bad reaction. So you want to be careful. I also love peppermint because of how it boosts energy, but it's also great for digestion. So the tea can be really helpful if you are having like bloating and some other issues, especially if you add a little fennel in there, that'll help. But as an essential oil, I feel like it just feels, just boosts me. And so sometimes if I'm experiencing like distress in my stomach, I'll just take some oil, rub it again like this, and just rub it counterclockwise on me, on my belly, to kind of help calm things down. It also has cooling elements to it. So I found, like, especially if I'm running a fever, a little peppermint oil in the bath will help kind of cool things down for me. The other, let's see, so I've talked, okay. Patchouli is another favorite of mine, and I know that it's associated with like Woodstock and hippies and not bathing, but like low-key patchouli is a really amazing essential oil. You know, that dark richness is very grounding, but it also has sort of balancing and calming aspects to it, and it is antibacterial. So it can be helpful in spaces where, you know, maybe you've gotten a cut and it's healed and you're trying to make sure it heals a little bit better. Like, don't put essential oils in open wounds, but once things close up, it can be really good for that. I use it on my face. And I love, you know, the toning that it does and just sort of the evenness that it creates. Also, one of my favorite things to do, particularly if things are really hectic and I'm feeling like I'm too high in the air and I need to come down, if you do a drop of patchouli and a drop of orange oil, rub it on your hands, and then coat the soles of your feet, it literally anchors you back.
Ah.
So it's a great way, if you're feeling like you're too in your head and you're not like you need to be grounded to do certain things, but you're sort of all over here. For me, it actually just brings me back to earth.
Okay.
And then lavender. So a lot of people like lavender because they associate it with relaxation and sleep. Yeah, it does those things. It can be really good for, you know, reducing anxiety and nervousness, but I like it as a first aid kit thing. Like when I am in the kitchen and I accidentally burn myself, I will run my whatever body part through some cold water, and then I'll immediately put lavender on it. And lavender is actually really good for skin regeneration. It's antifungal, it's antibacterial. So adding it to your bath, you know, is great for the relaxation piece, but it actually has those kinds of properties to kind of keep things safe. And like right now in the midst of Corona and, you know, breathing and all of these things, like lavender oil is one of those oils that I use. Like I spray the house with lavender all the time. Just a little, you know, distilled water and some drops in a bottle, as much as you want. And I just spray things down, you know, and that really helps. And then, like I said, eucalyptus is another herb, another essential oil that I like because it's great for respiratory issues. So when you're adding it in the diffuser, it actually opens, you know, kind of clears the air. But then I like it like direct contact. So if I'm experiencing congestion or like when I've had like walking pneumonia, a little essential oil of eucalyptus, maybe it's a coconut oil, rubbing on my chest, and it kind of really helps open up that pathway. So those are the herbs. I mean, I keep saying herbs. Those are the oils that I would keep in sort of that, if you're trying to figure out what you need right now, because they are not only great from an aroma sort of sensory perspective, but they can be used to clean. They can help with, you know, they can be first aid tools. They keep your skin like looking amazing and tight. And so, yeah, they're the ones that I go to initially.
Okay. You mentioned using the oils in a diffuser and
Yes.
also putting it on your skin.
Yes.
What are some of the other ways that you can incorporate these oils? The best method to get the full use of the oils?
So I don't believe that so here's the thing about essential oils. There are certain plants that in their essential oil form can be very, very potent. So like the herbs, the rosemaries, the eucalyptuses, the lemons, extracting that oil is not difficult. And you can tell because those oils tend to be really moderately priced. When you get to something like a rose, which is very expensive, one of the reasons it's expensive is because it takes a lot of rose matter to actually, extract the oil. When you think about the best way, it's really about what do you need in that moment. I like diffusing, and I prefer cold air diffusers, which are the ones you now buy in TJ Maxx or Marshalls. You put water in the machine, you add your 3 or 4 drops, and then you just let it kick out in the air. And what that does is it releases the oil in these small sort of cold air particles, and so the oil it stays in the air longer. Essential oils are they're very sensitive. So they oxidize over time. So every time you're opening up your oil, you are exposing it to the air. You're kind of reducing its efficacy over time. So you have to, in terms of how you use it, it's what do you need right now. Sometimes, even topically, it's not, for some people, direct skin contact may not be the best thing. Some oils are a little bit more, they can be a little harsh on some folks. So carrier oils are a great way to, to kind of diffuse it. You can make a massage oil. If you want it to be more of a fragrance, you use, I tend to use a thicker oil that will help me keep the scent a little bit more intact. You can do the inhalation method that I use. Sometimes you can just literally open up the bottle and run it under your nose, and that's a way to think about, that's another way to use it. Those are basically, yeah, I think those are the primary ways: topically, inhalation, diffusion. The other thing to think about is for internal use, you do have to be careful. I tell you that if it's not therapeutic grade, I wouldn't use it internally. And what you're always looking for is for that label to say for internal use. Some brands that are internal use, there's some debate. So like Young Living for a while was a company that I was spending a lot of money with to buy oils, and I would use those oils internally. I never had an issue. Everything was fine. Like I would take the peppermint oil, put a couple of drops in some water with some, with some chlorophyll, and I would sip on that all day. And just the internal cooling effect of sipping peppermint oil was really great. There is a company that makes these things called Wild Drops that are supposed to be for sort of breath. So if you're having breath issues, you can get these concentrated peppermint drops. And if you just put some of that in to water, it's a fun time. So those, how you are using it really depends. My sister and I have a company called Black Magick Sisters, and so we have these auric sprays, and depending on what the effect we want to create in terms of your aura space, we have oils that are put in that. So like this one, our crown chakra one has lavender, mugwort, and cedarwood, because we really designed this as a way to help sort of get clear in your head. Our protection one has sweet orange, bergamot, lavender, and rue. Rue is one of my favorite spiritual herbs to use because it's grounded in generations of protection. And so what I would say is, if you're looking, the 5 that I gave you are kind of like the basic if you're just getting started. But if you are into herbs, if you've been drinking herbs, there are a lot of herbs that come in essential oil form. Like holy basil is one of my favorite herbs, and this is a holy basil. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. It's a holy basil essential oil. So I'm not buying this for the smell. I'm buying this for the medicinal aspects of what holy basil does. Yeah. So what you do is you figure out the ways that work for you. You have a variety of ways that you can take in essential oils, so you're not limited. I like putting oils on the bottom of my feet sometimes, just because I feel like it sort of helps me. It'll travel up. Essential oils are fantastic for the skin in the way that they operate, because they bring oxygen to the body. They help you with skin regeneration. In some cases, they help you with that anxiety that you're feeling. And so taking in essential oils through the largest organ of your body, which is your skin, is a great way to do it. But don't limit yourself. So there's baths, there's salt scrubs. There is simply making an oil and diffusing it that way. test things out on yourself and see what works. I will say, like, I know that I can't use lemon or lime oil on my skin. Like, I break out. It's immediate. I can't use grapefruit. It's too strong. So when you figure out what works for you, keep those in stock. And remember that it's not just about what they smell like. They do have medicinal qualities that can be used, in first aid, that can be used, that I've had clients who suffer from really severe anxiety. And so making a blend that they can just open up and inhale is what brings them down.
Right, right. Someone, oh, by the way, folks, if you have any questions for Kat, you can just put them in the comments and I would ask her.
Thank you, because I can't seem to see. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I have the questions. So one person, we have like 3 questions actually. One person asked about lemongrass.
Yes. So I like lemongrass, but again, I can't use lemon on myself like directly. I have found that you can use it as a diffuser. Like for me, because I can't use it on my skin, you can diffuse it. It's got some antibacterial properties. I like it because the smell of lemon can be very sort of cleansing to the air. You can also add a little bit of it to your spray bottle to clean.
Yes.
So if you want to sanitize, lemongrass can be really helpful for that.
Yes. You mentioned a company you and your sister have. Someone is asking what's the name of that company.
Oh, the company is called Black Magick Sisters. And I will put it in the thread. We've been like quietly tinkering, and when you do this kind of work, you always want to make sure that you're doing things the right way. So for about 3 years now, we've been secretly like sharing it with people and selling it like in these really very curated spaces. And we finally put our website together this year, and am working on a couple of things. So the auric sprays are kind of the best. Like, these are our best sellers. People buy this stuff in bulk, and like, it's amazing. We also have, a vibrate higher, an energy one that's really good for cleansing. I use essential oils as a way to clean my crystals. I'll make a spray sometimes for that, like my jewelry. Anything that you come into contact on a regular basis energetically that might, get weighted down. So I might spray a little on my phone just to wipe things down. Essential oils are in my car. So like if you're spending a lot of time in your car, I have this habit of just taking this dropper bottle and just flinging the oil in various places, almost like a Catholic, priest or whatever, and just letting the essence fly all over the place. I use it in the hallways, and it's a refresher, but it's also, I think we really underestimate the sense of smell and how very invigorating and life-changing it can be. When we think about, I call myself a nostalgic eater. Sometimes I make things just because I want to remember my mother. So like I've been eating plantain all week because it just reminds me of my mother. And so these essential oils can be really helpful. And I wanted to say there is a difference between essential oils and fragrance oils. So there are some things that, like lotus oil, you can't pull oil out of lotus flowers, unfortunately. So while it is a plant that exists, oftentimes when you're getting lotus oil, because it's one of my favorite oils, it is actually a fragrance oil, which means that it's a compound that's been created to mimic the smell.
Right.
So you always, if you're going to use essential oils, particularly when we're talking topically and, for yourself, you always want to make sure that it says, I don't know if you can see that it says essential. I have got to get better at this. That it says essential oil on the bottle, because fragrance oils are different.
Right.
Okay, they are usually chemically compounded to make the smell that you want. So when you're getting things like I don't know, just like when you're getting things like summer rain, that is a combination of things. And you can have compound fragrances that are combinations of essential oil, but always check the label to see. Okay, essential oils are usually one plant, one bottle. Okay. So if it's a blend, they should say it on the label that it's a blend. But when we're dealing with essential oils, I tend to use blends and fragrance oils in my diffuser for the aroma. I don't necessarily use them from a medicinal standpoint. That's really just, you know, cosmetic fragrance, you know, being cute, whatever. But when it's time to, if I'm worried about, you know, if I'm having, you know, if I've cut myself and I'm bleeding, you know, the essential oil of lavender is really helpful for that. If I am feeling particularly weighted down by life and I need a little boost, I might throw some peppermint and orange in a bath and like sort of imagine sun and rays and joy and go from there. But fragrance oils are not the same thing. Okay. So you want to differentiate between fragrance oils and essential oils. Essential oils are derived from the plant via water or steam distillation. Sometimes there is sort of a cold press that happens. That is not the same thing as a fragrance oil, which is sort of a chemically compounded sort of mix of things. There may be essential oils in that fragrance, but it is not necessarily, it's not essential. Right. So like we are starting a candle line, and the oil that I'm using for that is not essential. It's a blend that was created by someone else that I really like, and I've used it in spiritual practices, and I find that it does what I need it to do, but it's not an essential oil candle. So that's the thing. We want to make sure we differentiate and understand that essential oil is exactly what it is, the essence of a plant. Okay.
What are some of the best brands for essential oils? Because, you know, we got a lot of different brands out there, and sometimes you're not even sure if it is authentic or not. So is there a particular brand that you would recommend folks?
So what I say is, so these oils that I've been playing around with today, I bought in a gift pack at TJ Maxx. Mm-hmm. It was real cheap. And so I don't necessarily use them for my bath or like things topically, unless it's just a quick inhalation. Mm-hmm. I use them in the diffuser.
Okay.
So my general, and I am a snob about teas and essential oils, so just know that you don't have to be like me, but I am a snob. So what I say is, if you want to engage in using essential oils, go to natural food stores or natural, you know, food places. So I like Auric, which is this brand here. It is, I don't know if I can.
Yeah, the light you can't see it, but that's fine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe that's a little better.
Yeah.
So Auric is a really great brand. It's mid-level, mid-range. I like the quality of their oils. You can go to Whole Foods. You can go to Mom's is probably better to go to for this. And so they have a bunch of different testers, so you can smell things on your own. Keep in mind that because essential oils oxidize over time, that every time somebody opens that up, you're getting less and less of the essence, but it gives you an idea. I do like, Young Living has come under a lot of scrutiny. I used to use it a lot. I actually liked their oils, but they were very pricey. Like the cheapest oil was like $30 or something like that. So it was expensive. Because I am dealing in sort of this product making now, I'm using a vendor called St. John's Botanical. I really like their oils. They're mid-range. They are a farm that's based here in the Lanham area in Maryland, family-owned situation. And so we've been using a lot of their oils, but you can order oils online from places like Star West or Rose Mountain Herbs. The thing is that you got to trust your instincts. Plants that are like rosemary, eucalyptus, lemon balm, lemon, orange, pulling that oil is actually not very difficult. So the easier it is to distill the oil, usually the cheaper the oil is. What you start to get into when we're talking about things like neroli, which is very expensive, part of it is that it takes more to get oil. The amount of plant it takes to get that oil is why it's probably, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. Right. And you just find the ones that you like. I don't play with my geranium oil because I use it for my face. So I'm not going to buy cheap geranium oil because of, what I do with it. You find the oils that make sense for you, but I always tell people, go to a Mom's, go to a Yes, and just hang out in that little aisle and play around with those essential oils. Auric is like my favorite go-to for people who are starting, who want to experiment with like massage oils and bath oils and things of that nature, where you're going to put it on your skin. But if you just want to play around with the diffuser aspect, go to the TJ Maxx, go to Marshall's or Ross. like, you know, this stuff that we have been doing for years and generations is now in. So you can buy crystals at the TJ Maxx. You can
Yeah,
find aromatherapy diffusers and salt lamps.
it's
You can
gotten
find
wide.
tons of, especially because right now we're moving into the Christmas season. You can find like really great essential oil packs for really cheap. So from a diffusing standpoint, have at it. Just because you're putting it in water, you're diffusing it out, and I think it's fine. But when we're talking about you wanting to use it for your skin, I would be a little bit more discerning, and I would go to shops that are focused on, you know, health and healing, so that you can start sort of hands-on experimenting. And then, you know, there are some companies like St. John's Botanical. I think Rose Mountain Herbs does this as well, where if you wanted to get a sample of some oils so you could kind of see what they smell like or how they feel and how they work, you could do that as well.
Okay. All right. When should we use a carrier oil?
You should use a carrier oil when you are, so I use carrier oils when I'm trying to create a massage oil. So if I'm creating something like for aches and pains or, you know, just general body massage oil, I'll use a carrier oil. Remember, whatever's coming out of this bottle is very concentrated. So the coverage is not going to be, it's not going to go very far, right? So when I'm using this straight, it's usually for an inhalation perspective or a targeted area that I know that I can, my body heat will generate the smell for a longer period of time if I'm trying to, you know, achieve a certain sort of mental state. But when we're talking about all over body coverage, this is when carrier oils come in to handy. I love sweet almond oil as like a basic, carrier oil. And what I usually suggest is, my general rule of thumb is 10 to 20 ounces of essential oil to 1 ounce of carrier oil to start. And then, depending on why you're using it. So sometimes you just like the smell. Like, I hate chamomile to drink. Like, I can't stand it. But the smell of certain grains of chamomile oil send me through the moon. I absolutely love it. And so if I get like a high fractionated coconut oil, which is basically just coconut oil that has been treated so that it doesn't solidify, I will throw, you know, if I have like an 8-ounce bottle, I'll throw a whole ounce of chamomile oil in that 8-ounce bottle to disperse it. And it's going to give me a really strong smell, but that's why I'm using it. If you want a lighter set, less oil. If you want more, add more. I like sweet almond oil. I love coconut oil. For if you have nut allergies. Okay, so shucks.
I like to use avocado oil.
Well, I was thinking avocado. Yeah, so I use avocado. I love jojoba oil as well, and I do love olive oil as well. So 1 ounce of carrier oil, and what you're doing is 10 to 20 drops of the essential oil. So that's my base. So when I'm thinking in terms of carrier to essential oil, if you start with 1 ounces, I start with 10 to 20 drops. See how I feel about that. See what it smells like. See what it feels like on. And if I want more, you know, your body heat will dissipate the smell of whatever essential oil you're using. So if you run hot like I do, then, you know, just, you know, I need a little bit more oil because I run hot. It also means that you become this amazingly smelling diffuser for the world when you walk into places and you're leaving your essence everywhere. It does make it difficult to commit crimes when you smell as good as some of us do. But it is what it is. But that was Rissy. I know that's Lotus. That was her. But yeah, so what you want to think through is, you know, the base is good to start. 1 ounce of oil. And the thing is, if you have olive oil in your house, just try it with olive oil. Because I love olive oil. We're moving into the winter. It's a little thicker oil. It's fantastic for hair. So when I do a hair oil, I will do olive oil with the rosemary. Sometimes cedar, because cedar is also really good for scalp issues. And I will just throw that out together and grease my scalp. And it's quite nice. So you probably have oils in your house that could work. Sesame oil is also another oil that you can use in Ayurvedic practice. That is the oil that they use. So coconut, jojoba, avocado, olive oil, sweet almond. These are all oils that are really good. And, you know, grapeseed oil is also good for blends.
Yeah.
Just remember that thinner oils, thinner oils in terms of dispersion, you know, might what's the word? Might dry up faster. So like in the winter, I tend to go with heavier oils just because I don't want to be ashy by two.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So tell us about, you have a lot of stuff going on. We're going to talk about you now. You got a lot of projects going on, and I love that.
Do.
I love that, by the way, because you know, when some of my clients, they're like, Simone, I have all these great business ideas, but you know, they say you should just focus on one thing. I say, who's they that said that?
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing. I said, like, Jay-Z only doing music. His hand is in women lingerie with Fenty Beauty. He has a piece in the Uber taxi thing. He has his hand up in all kinds of things.
Right.
So you could do the same thing too. So I love the fact that, you know, when I'm tapping into your stuff on IG, I see all these different programs, your podcasts, you know, Carrie always doing all these, and I think it's amazing work. And so tell us about Black Magick Sisters, your podcast. Let me check the time. Oh, we got some time. We got 15 minutes actually.
Okay, so I think Cinnamon Brown, did you have a question?
Oh, she has another. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, darling.
Her hand's up. I just want to make sure we don't miss it.
Yeah. Tell us your question. Well, she's typing it out. Or she's just waving. Or she's just waving.
Oh, maybe she's waving. Maybe she's a question.
Maybe she's like, yay. All right, so
okay. Well, if you have a question, please put it in the chat.
Yeah.
So I call myself a culture architect, and I started doing that about a decade ago now, because I initially started out doing events. Like, no, I'm not an event planner. I'm a content creator. And it just so happened that the only way to get clients that I was managing, because I also managed artists at some point, Lord, was to create events to kind of center them. And so that turned into Low Social Productions, which is my production house. And ever since then, I've, you know, I love Black people. So I'm really interested in creating engaging Black content and experiences. Like, that's where I am. Somebody asked me once, what about white people? And I was like, I'm not, why are you asking me that question? So yeah, I'm really interested in Black culture. I see culture as a living, moving, and breathing thing. And so that's one of the reasons why I operate the way I do. Because, okay. So that's me. Okay. So the issue of focus, I am not I don't focus on just one thing. I tried, and I got incredibly bored and found that I was not as effective in terms of my output when I tried to focus on one thing. I also feel like when people say that you should focus on one thing, it's rich people don't focus on one thing. You know, people that are successful in the sort of capitalist sense don't focus on one thing. Women in their lives don't focus on one thing. If you are a woman, you are already juggling 15 million things, especially if you have children, even with a husband. So, or a wife, depending on your situation. So we are multitaskers by nature. And so it occurred to me, because I have interest in teaching, I'm a professor. So I'm a full-time professor at one school, and I adjuncted another school. I have my company, and I learn and pick up things all the time, and then they become part of my toolkit. So like, for example, the pandemic enforcing us to do an event called the Black Love Experience that I have been curating for like 5 or 6 years. We had to go virtual, and we weren't going to go virtual because we thought we would lose some of the essence of the event. And at the same time, no one on the team was like, they were like, I can't manage a virtual event. So I learned Hopin, because I'd already experienced it as a speaker and as an attendee on some other platforms. And so I produced and directed a whole festival online. So what I say this to say that part of why I think you should give into those inclinations around all the things is that you probably have built skill sets throughout your life that help you do all of those things. Me being a teacher is the foundational aspect of how I'm able to do all of those things. At the very least, while I do still hate grading papers, I'm able to communicate concepts effectively. It's because when you teach, that's what you have to do. I also am not necessarily afraid to get on and talk to people and do all these other things. My skill set, though, is talking to people, interviewing people, asking those questions. It's not in the administrative. So part of what you have to learn when you do a bunch of different things is what are you good at? My website is woefully out of date. Like it took us forever to get the Black Magick Sisters website up because I had to do it. And so I am learning now in this phase of my life that teamwork I've always believed in teamwork, but it's really, really time to have a team. For those of you that have those ideas, you are probably a visionary. That's your job. Come up with ideas. You don't always have to be the one to execute it, though. I mean, that's what I'm learning, is that I can actually, as much as I loved, putting LSP's name on an event and pushing it out and all that, what I didn't love was the bullshit of, are people going to buy tickets? We like to be late on everything. Is this going to actually reach the people? Are you going to get sponsors? I don't like dealing with all that. So working with Black Love was dope because that was a time where I could be fully creative in my black self and, bring this medicine that I wanted to bring to the community. But I didn't have to worry about, I didn't have to worry about it. I was involved in a lot of aspects of that event, but I didn't have to worry about necessarily the ticket sales or, did we put the social media? I could just focus on these things. So what I would say is look at the thread that is a through line between all the things that you want to do. So my through line is education and remembering. I want to educate people, but my ancestors are very clear that we have forgotten them, and they're like, you need to help people remember. So a lot of the things that I do they're kind of steeped in nostalgia, but they're also very much in amplifying Black voices, because there's this thing where, we're getting caught in the vacuum of social media, and these blue checks are getting in the way of like all the other stuff that's out there. So I don't necessarily feel like I have to be, I've never felt like I had to be in front, but I don't necessarily feel like I have to be the builder of it anymore. I can literally sit back. Like I'm working on this project called Blacks in Space. This is brilliant. These young cats from the Makers Lab DC, these are, they're millennials and they're brilliant. They have this whole idea around celebrating queer Black people. And you know what? Earth is tripping, so we're going to go to space. So they wanted to do something. They had done something on Zoom in May, and it was cute, but the production value wasn't high enough. So I was asked to come in and help on it and push it out virtually, and we've been doing it. This is day 3, and the response has been like, yo, the quality of the production is like, you guys have 400%, you've taken it to another level. So my skill set allows me to show up and help people. So multiple things doesn't mean that you have to run all the things. Hell, if you want to do something, find somebody who's doing it and invest in them.
Yes.
So part of what I think we as Black people get caught up in because of white supremacist bullshit is we feel like we always have to be the one to do the lifting. Mm-hmm. And I feel like maybe that's where we get it wrong. The reason why Jay-Z doesn't run Uber, Jay-Z puts his money in Uber. Jay-Z doesn't run Fenty. Mm-hmm. Jay-Z puts his money in Fenty. He put his money in Carol's daughter. So sometimes maybe we should be thinking about, well, where can I put my money? Mm-hmm. So if there's a sister friend or a brother friend that's starting something, maybe you got $500. Mm-hmm. You're like, hey, I want to invest. Put the paper down. This is what I expect in return. But you having being an owner in that particular company could be a great way to sort of exercise that thing without you having to build that thing. So I think we need to sort of expand. And like Benjamin Franklin is not my idol, but he is he's who I think about in terms of when somebody tries to say like, you do a lot. I'm like, yeah, nobody's ever said that to Benjamin Franklin. No one ever said to Benjamin Franklin, you're an inventor and you're a philosopher and you're a man of the people, or at least white people, and you like to be out here, testing stuff out, and you like to, you do air baths and be naked on the hill. No one ever said, Ben, I think you're doing too much. No, they don't say that, and they don't say that, and they don't really say that to men. Mm-hmm. Men are allowed to do so much, and nobody questions whether it's too much. It's just, there's always women out here willing to help. So I think what we should do, particularly from a Black woman perspective, is explore all of the things. I am too much. You should be too. That's what I think. I mean, I'm just at that point where I don't care anymore. It's like, I've been told, well, you should do this and that. That's cute, but my brain doesn't work that way. And there's nothing wrong with trying and failing. So that's the other piece. I've released the fear of failure. So if I try something and it doesn't work, I don't beat myself up about it. I just move on to the next thing.
Yeah. I've
And
gone
I'll
to
just
that
keep
stage.
chugging along until,
Yeah.
say again?
I've gone to that stage in my life when something doesn't work out. I'm like, okay, well, this maybe not the time for this, or maybe I need to find somebody else to help me with it, and I move on in peace. Because before I used to beat myself up and be like, oh my God, I'd be a hot mess.
Yeah.
Behind things not working out. And I've also created, grasp this energy of letting go, and moving on. And sometimes spirit comes to me and says, well, we want you to let this go for now.
Right.
And we'll let you know when it's time to pick it back up.
Right.
So it's all of these little tidbits and life lessons I'm learning, in this space. And 2020, for all the life lessons that we've been ignoring and not registering in our lives or paying attention to, this year, which could be a decade, which could be a century, with all the stuff that's going on, is forcing us to pay closer attention to certain things.
Yeah, I've been saying, like, if you come out of this pandemic and you haven't changed, and I'm not saying you need to have a business or learn a new language, but if you literally come out of this pandemic the same way you went in, then this is an opportunity. I think for a lot of us, we have been complaining internally about the way our lives look, about not having enough time, about feeling like it's too much, it's that and the third. And so I do think collectively the universe was like, okay, you know what, let's shut it all down.
Yeah, correct.
And so hopefully once we, because there's a point where I think there was panic and confusion and uncertainty, and we were eating our feelings and wondering what was going to happen and saying, screw it, I'm just going to sit here and wallow. But now we're at a place where this could actually, I do expect that we won't be able to really, really, really move out in the way that we want to for at least the next year and a half, 2 years.
Yes.
And so while you have people's attention, while you have the beauty of this pandemic, which, has unfortunately removed people from the earth plane in a way that we didn't like, but is also giving us time, what do you want to do? And just try it. Like, the virtual space is dope because people from all over the world can engage in content now. Whereas before you might have been in this one town and you were trying to do this one festival to get people to come to this one town. Now you can, if you can produce it, throw it out there in the world and let people from all over the world see it. Right. So it's really about how you are choosing to look at it, but I think it's also about realizing that it's a double-edged sword, but there's a gift in what we're experiencing in the pandemic. Like, I've learned a great deal, and my skill sets have expanded as a result of this pandemic. The podcast series that I did with the one-on-one was Corona, induced. I did it because I wanted to see how people were doing, and ended up having a really great time. And now I got all this content that I still need to do something with. But there's a lot of beauty that can happen in these spaces if we're willing to give in to the fact that, okay, right now, this is where we are. It's not forever. Yeah. But it's for right now. For right now. And there's nothing wrong with just trying some shit out. Just go see. Like, I use StreamYard. It's a fantastic platform. I used it so I could push things to various places. And even in this Black in Space event, we've now, my hopping game was tight, but now my hopping game is even tighter because I've learned how to use StreamYard to push the hop it. You know what I'm saying? So the amount of control, the ease for which people can jump on, it's just a great platform to use. And it allows you to do that and push to places that you want people to see what you're doing. Yeah. So there's a lot to be learned. And between the essential oils and the cards and the ancestors and all these things, like, we got this. We really do have this. Yeah. Well, we got 38 seconds left. Okay. Yeah, we really made much of this hour. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. Thank you. I love you. We should be linking up soon. I'm going to come over. Yeah, I'm going to actually call you after this because I want to ask you a quick question. Okay, great. All right. Okay, guys, thanks for joining us this morning. Sacred Conversations, 10 o'clock every Sunday. I love you all. Kat, thanks again. Look for her at Black Magick Sisters. Is all pinned there. And then I'm going to post this
interview. I have all the information there. Love you all. Bye-bye. I'll talk to you soon, Kat.
Take care. And don't forget